we're playing a multi-billion-dollar industry, and then this Wendy's has SaaS, but you can't win out McDonalding McDonald's, so you gotta clap back. Oh, you eat Wendy's out of a bag, and they're like, well, you can eat McDonald's out of a trash can. It's just like, it was just like, let's fight. And it was really great. And then all of a sudden, Wendy's has a brand. Who's Nike? You know, who's Adidas, and who's Apple? I mean, there's a personality that's imbued, and they act and talk and behave like human beings. And so we start to think of them as separate entities. And if you play into that, then you can control and manage two different personalities. And they could be just two versions of you that you show different parts to. And we're all complex human beings, and there's a broad spectrum of who we want to be. Generally speaking, when you're talking and speaking as a company, you're a little bit more formal with your language. You're more professional, you're trying to be more business-like, and you're going to speak about things that you think are going to attract a potential client. You as a human being are much more complicated. You can speak about politics, religion, sex. You could talk about whatever you want, and you're allowed to, because that's who you are. I found it to be very stifling as a person who would speak in my own true voice, yet don the banner of a corporation or a business. And for a long time, I tried to write content as a business, and it was just miserable. It's horrible, because it was inclusive and representative of a lot more people than myself. So I was very liberated when we started the Futur, because at that point, it was just really me and like an intern helping me out. I would just write in the eye, here's what I feel, here's what I'm thinking. And that helped to really solidify the personality of the brand, how we talk, behave, our core values, etc. And so from a content creation point of view, it was very beneficial for me to forget that there's a corporation. I'm just going to write what I think. Now, over time, the organization, the company has gotten bigger. So the way we manage it is somebody else writes for the Futur, and I write for myself. So you know Elle, she does all the social media stuff on Instagram for the Futur. And it's a combination of her scraping content from myself, from Matthew and Ben, as well as her interjecting her observations and thoughts in there as well. But initially it was just scraping content we had already produced, so it sounded and acted like us. It still spoke in a human tone and voice as if I was writing it, but it was just done on a separate account. And it was neat because the two of us can experiment and try different things and see what sticks. And now it's got its own unique voice, and it's doing what it's doing in its own design language, and it's mostly driven by Elle. Like even on this call today, you know, Matthew is a guy who's been with me for a really long time. I've known him since he was still at Art Center as a student, and we agree on so many things, but there are things we disagree on too, and we have different takes on it and how we want to the design decisions that we make. So to say like this is the Futur and it's only my voice would exclude him and his perspective. So that's why there's a shared perspective, and sometimes as you get bigger and bigger, it starts to get unfortunately sometimes really watered down. It becomes very correct, it becomes very safe, but for right now I don't think we have those kind of issues. You could have each one take whatever perspective that you want. And in fact, something that Wendy's has done very effectively to put themselves in the number 2, number 3 burger position is they assume the personality of a fictitious Wendy who is full of sass. She's always clapping back at people like McDonald's, and it's really made Wendy's relevant. You know, like I remember, because this was written up in different advertising trades, which was something like McDonald's saying, Wendy, you know, why are your burgers square? You know, trying to dig at them. You know what Wendy's fired back on Twitter? It's simple, we don't cut corners. Boom. Roasted. And that's their account. And that was like when corporate America was like, we're playing a multi-billion-dollar industry, and then Wendy's has SaaS, but you can't win out McDonalding McDonald's. You just can't do that. So you got to clap back. And you know, there's so many like bits of dialogue back and forth, right? And they're like, oh, you eat Wendy's out of a bag, and they're like, well, you can eat McDonald's out of a trash can. It's just like it was just like, let's fight. And it was really great. And then all of a sudden Wendy's has a brand. And you'll notice too that Arby's is all of a sudden, I mean, I used to work at Arby's as a fast food restaurant. There's many people who are like, what is Arby's? Now Arby's is like, Arby's, we have the meat. It's like, it's taking an attitude, it's unapologetic. And so it's kind of interesting as each brand tries to find their voice, they're searching to be human again. So whatever you do, whatever you decide, make sure whether it's a corporation, a bunch of people, that it has a point of view. Otherwise, it just becomes a vehicle for you to spew out marketing things, which it only goes so far.
Hi, my name is Greg Gunn, and I'm the producer of the Futur Podcast. And yes, we do have a podcast. In fact, we've been having one for years, and that's exactly why I'm here talking with you. You see, it's really good, and I think you should listen to it. If you like what we do here on YouTube, then you're gonna love what we do on the podcast. You'll get to hear intimate conversations and personal stories from some familiar faces and others you might not know about yet. Plus, you can listen to it while doing something else, and you won't miss a thing. So, if any of that sounds interesting to you, go visit thefutur.com/podcast or find it on your favorite podcast listening app. I hope to see you there.